Welcome. Today I'm going to talk about the project that you guys are embarking on and getting ready for the June challenge. We're going to be looking today at how to use Google Drawings, as well as talking about our career exploration project and the personality test that you took. So the career exploration project is one of the steps that we're following along the June challenge. In this project, you guys are going to be following two career paths of your choice. So as we went through class, you guys had looked at the Myers-Briggs personality test. So again, this was an abridged version, right? We only had 4 questions that we were looking at. We looked at question number 1, how you get your energy, and you either decided that you corresponded mostly with the extrovert view or an introverted view. Then you moved on to your second question and decided which column best fit your need. So again, you took either E or I and then moved on to your next question and added S or N to your series of letters. In looking at your third, you decided if you make your decisions more by thinking or by using your emotions and sensing what your feelings are. And lastly, we looked at how you judge a scenario, whether you judge or perceive that in planning ahead. So once you are able to go through those 4 questions, right, your personality type is the 4-letter series you've recorded. So on Google Classroom, I provided you guys with an article that talked about the Myers-Briggs indicator. So looking at this personality test, some of you may have gone through this and realized some information, especially about how Fortune 500 companies may use this at times to place their employees within the best departments that they see fit. It's really something that's been widely accepted, and it's a really interesting philosophy as to how we use personality to match that with job selection and looking at careers for the future. So again, as you guys went through, you had your series of 4 different personality traits, and you were searching through this list here to find it, right? So if you had selected E as your indicator rather than an I, you're more than likely going to be in this first column somewhere or in this third column, right? And if you had selected I as your first letter for an indicator, right, and had that introverted view, you would be in this column. So these were jumping points for you guys to go ahead and look and see what sorts of careers. So let's say when I took the test, I ended up with INFJ as my series of 4 letters. Some recommendations that this test has produced for me to think about, not necessarily careers I'm obligated to go into, right, but things that they think my personality may match, were therapist or mental health counselor, social worker, HR, right, a hiring manager looking at different things that'll help supply companies with employees, and keeping up different kinds of relations and professional etiquette and all sorts of things go into HR. It's a really interesting field. Organizational development and consulting, and then customer relations manager. So it does not mean that when I go to do my career exploration project, the 2 careers I choose must be in this category. It's just a jumping point for you. So if you're not satisfied with the careers that were in the indicators that were selected for you based on your test answers, this is a great time to scroll through and look at all of the other options that are there for you, right? So if I happen to go and look at something on a similar thread, right, the ESFP had a child welfare counselor, maybe looking into primary care physician, right? All of these different things are dealing with a more extroverted quality that was selected based on the first question. So these are things to kind of think about as you go through. It's great to read through this list. Again, you'll see that there are a whole bunch of different career options, and there may be things that you have in mind as well. So in moving towards what you're doing with your career exploration project, I'm just going to read through some of the things on the sheet. Again, keep in mind that this is an assignment that's going to help us with our June challenge. So as we prepare to create a resume and a portfolio and do some mock interviewing, right, to select some winners, you're going to have some great experiences that will help you as you transition into the workforce. So this is something that will be beneficial for you. So again, you're going to be picking 2 careers. So I'll go ahead and highlight that as a reminder. Right, so you may have one that your heart is set on. Pick a backup, right? So think of 2 careers that you're interested in. They can be from the personality quiz we took, or again, it can be from your own interests. You are not mandated to use what the test had recommended. It's just some food for thought, okay? And as we go through, we're going to be using Google Drawings, so this is where our directions come into play, right? So we are going to go ahead and create some sort of mind map or visual poster, right, using Google Draw. So when I polled you guys in class to ask how many people had interacted with it, a few had, many hadn't. So I figured this is a really great way to see what Google Drawing can do and all the different capacities the program has. So on the slides that you guys had in class, one of the things that I put out there was how to access Google Draw, right? So if you're logged in and you already are signed into your student account, you should be able to go to your Google Drive, and then you're going to click on new and it's going to provide some information for you. So I'm going to go ahead and model that. So if I'm in my drive right now, I can add something new. You guys are probably used to making a Google Doc or making a Google slide. In this case, you're going to go ahead and click more. Or if you wave your cursor over it, it'll give you some extra options, right? And Google Drawings is the second option that's there underneath Forms. You'll see it in red. So if I go ahead and click a Google Drawing, it'll ask me if I want to create this or if I have a shared folder with somebody. It may say create and share. So either way, you're going to click that blue button and it will give you a template to use. So as I go through this tutorial, I'm just going to talk about a variety of things you can do with Google Drawing. The first thing that I recommend is go ahead and title your drawing with something that you are going to remember, right? You're going to want to make sure you find this document on your drive so that way you don't lose what you worked on. So if I wanted to revolve this around the teaching profession, right, I would go ahead and have teacher as my career choice, and it would save this information for me. Okay, so one thing that's great about this is you can maximize your space. So what you'll notice is in the bottom right hand corner, there's a little triangle here. It serves to expand. So kind of like when you guys have pictures that you put in a Google Doc or on a different kind of electronic document, you can drag them to make them larger. Same kind of thing with this template. You can go ahead and make this Google Drawing grid larger so that way you maximize the surface area you have to create your mind map or poster on. So I went ahead and I made that larger so now I can fit more text, more images. It's really going to help me be successful in maximizing my space and getting the message that I need to my audience. Okay, so in thinking about what some of the requirements are, if you go back to the career exploration description, right, you need some kind of mind map. I'm fine with it being a poster as well, right? And you're going to go ahead and have that for 2 of the careers. My recommendation is to create a Google Drawing for each career. It'll help you not crowd your space if you think you can easily divide it in half and have career number 1 be on the left, career number 2 be on the right. That's going to be at your discretion. I'll let you decide how you want to do that. I think to maximize your space, you may end up wanting to do 2 different Google Drawings, but that's going to be your choice how you tackle that. Okay. Alrighty. So going back to the description, there's a few things that you're going to need to do. So it requires getting to understand the jobs you've picked because again, you selected 2 careers. So for each career, you need to answer these questions. So they're going to be highlighted in yellow, right? These are a must. You have to answer questions 1 through 4. Now, since you're going to be looking at what the job is, right? How would you describe or define that career, right? What kind of education does somebody need? Are they looking at going to a 4-year university, a 2-year school? Are you able to go to a trade school? Is there a class that you can take to get a certificate, right? What kinds of things do you need to do in order to acquire this profession and be certified or be qualified, right? Be somebody that can be considered and has the knowledge and experience they need. So that's something to research, right? You probably want to know how much you'd get paid, right? Or a rough estimate, right? What is the average income for somebody in this profession? Right. Also, positives about the job, right? You want to have some things to look forward to. So what is this career path going to benefit you with? It can either be in terms of experience, right? You can talk about the different kinds of people you may interact with. You might talk about opportunities for travel, upward momentum, right? So if you're starting out as a beginning level employee, and you are a novice and you want to move up, maybe there's a program that accelerates you to management, right? So what kind of things are really positive aspects or benefits that you see to this career path, okay? So these are the musts, these things that are highlighted in yellow. Now, when you get to the next piece, you're going to be going ahead to choose 3 other things that you want to add to your visual, Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put these in a different color because they're all choices. You do have to pick 3, but the 3 you choose are up to you. So again, negative aspects of the job, maybe some kind of stereotypes or things that people tend to believe, they're kind of misnomers, things that the job gets a bad reputation for that may not be true, right? Looking at what stressors may be, because again, you want to go in with an open mind, but also understand that there are going to be positive and negative aspects to many of the things that you have to choose between in life. So that's something to be aware of, okay? What a typical day looks like for somebody, right? You may describe the hours they work, or if you tend to pick something that's more in the nursing field, you might talk about the potential for there being like a night shift or different things like that, right? So, what does the day look like? What kind of tasks, what kind of hours do people have? Is there a lot of interpersonal interaction between people and others? Or is it something that's very like secluded and you work on your own, or even if you work remotely, right? You don't have to physically be in that place to work. Those are all things to think about. Do you travel for this job? Right? Is it something where they say, okay, you travel 25% of the time or 50 to 70% of the time, right? There are different indicators. So even looking at job descriptions for the careers you're looking into would be beneficial in getting this sort of information. Okay. And then just kind of assessing your situation. Do you already have some skills that are going to prepare you for this job? What might those be? Okay. So at this point, you have a lot of questions you're kind of muddling through. I want to get to the Google Drawing aspect of this where you can start being creative. Now, even though these questions are numbered, as you get to the Google Drawing, by no means am I requiring you to go ahead and number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. It would make for a very boring visual. So you guys are able to mix information up and present it in whatever format you find to be conducive. So I'd like to, at this point, show you some things that Google Drawing provides you with the opportunity to do and try. That way you can use it however you see fit. I'm not going to necessarily say to you there's one way I want to see your drawing look. The only thing I'm most concerned with is, are you being creative in displaying the things in yellow, right? These musts, and the things in green that you're going to choose from, right? Make your 3 selections. So I don't necessarily have a certain format I want you to follow. I want you to try to be creative as you're depicting the information and make sure that you put as much information as you find important to communicating that message. It's not about how lengthy it is, but rather how you articulate what you're going to be doing and the information you found, especially in a visual, using things that are more concrete and very specific, short language, not going into great depth and detail and description if it's not necessary, is going to benefit you in saving some space. Okay, so in Google Drawing, you guys have the opportunity to, again, title your document. So I just titled it with the career path I chose to make this off of. You have a lot of similar features that you see in either Google Slides or Google Docs. So hopefully some of these things look familiar to you, right? Like you can share this with somebody. You can go ahead and download it when you're done as a PDF if you want for any reason. You can even print this, right? But at this point, I'd really like to talk about some of the things you can put on here. So again, it comes up as a grid, so you can change this background, right? So that's something to kind of think about, is what do you want your color scheme to be as you go through? So if you want to go ahead and insert an image to take up a portion of your piece, you can do that. So I'm just going to show you guys how to upload something from your computer, right? If you already saved a file, you can click upload from computer and it's going to give you the opportunity to choose from your desktop, your downloads, different things like that, right? And you can go ahead and drag an item in there. If you decide you want to just surf the internet and find something, right, you can search the web. So at that point, I want to use specific keywords to try to find something that I'm interested in. So if I wanted to find something about teaching, this would give me a variety of things that have again been prompted by Google. So I would find whatever I think to be pertinent and maybe integrate that into what I'm doing. So if I think teaching is something that requires a lot of teamwork, I may decide that I want to integrate this photo. If I want to show a path and a journey, which in this case would definitely be appropriate, right? As we're looking at a career field, I could put that on there. So it's going to go ahead and give me a blue check saying I've selected this item. If I insert it, it's just going to show up on my Google Drawing. And again, you can make it smaller. You can flip it upside down, whatever things you want to do to articulate the message that you want. And again, you can go back and undo anything you've done. You want to make sure you have that. Okay, so let's say I want more of the sign to be in the picture and I don't want as much of this blue sky and clouds and things like that. I can go ahead and click this button over here to crop an image. If you click on the black parts that are draggable, right, it'll start to change the box around your image, and you can always drag the image within it too. And if you click anywhere outside of it, it's just going to go ahead and shrink and cut off those areas that you didn't want in your photo. So again, this can be moved anywhere you want it to be, very similar to when you put a thing in Google Docs, right? Same kind of images. Okay, so let's say I have my teaching and that's my central focus here. I can do a lot of different things as well, right? So when I click out to anywhere else in the Google Drawing, I'm not selecting the photo anymore, and now I'm back to my normal capacities. I can do other things. So if I want to go ahead and add something that I want to type myself, right, I can go ahead and put a text box here. So one of the things I had to talk about according to our assignment, right, is what the type of education is that's required for this job. So I know that in most cases people need to have a bachelor's degree, and they might need a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts, right? And it depends on how they go about their program. And it needs to be in education, and that's just pretty concise, right? So they need to go to college. They need to be majoring in something related to education. In particular, right, my experience is something that's conducive to that, right? I have, and I just dragged the text box to make it bigger, I have a Bachelor of Science in pre-secondary English education. So that's something that I know is also on the list, right? That happened to fall under the green category, right? What skills do you already have that can help you prepare for this job? So that's something that I know I have in the bag that I can use on my poster, right? I might even go into other experiences that I have, right? If I have experiences guiding others through the learning process, that's something that I can articulate, right? Let's say I wanted to go ahead and bullet this, right? Because I seem to have a few experiences, and if I want to bullet them, that might make it stand out a little bit more. So again, you have the same kind of options you have when you take notes or use Google Docs or Google Slides. I can number these experiences. I can bullet these experiences, right? There's lots of things that I can do to make this stand out. Okay, so in general, this text box looks kind of boring, right? So I can highlight my text if I want to make it match with this like blue and white and black theme I kind of have going on. I can go ahead and do that. I can change my text, make it bold, make it larger so people can see it, right? Whatever I think is going to be conducive to my audience seeing and understanding what's going on. Okay, so I have that there. At this point, I didn't have any kind of line or outline around the text box if I wanted to. The pencil gives you what they call that border color. So if I wanted this to be in a box as well and I was going with this like blue, black, and white theme, I could make it black. I could weight it heavier so people can see it, right? But, I have a problem now, right? My image is behind this border and it looks kind of sloppy. So things that you can also do, right, now that you're on the image, is you should be able to make different kinds of formats, or you can click on the image and decide that you want to change the order. You want this picture to be brought to the front so you don't see that anymore. So as you go ahead and fine tune your graphic organizer, if you're doing a mind map, that's fine, or if you're just making it like a digital poster, as you go through and work either in an organizer, map, or a poster, you're going to want to change some things so that way it looks a little bit more polished. So if you find yourself running into those issues with formatting, right, you can click on it, and then when it gives you the list, right, if you right click, you can crop it again. You can go ahead and bring things to the front or send them to the back. If you want to even change the color, right, you can click on formatting and decide that, oh, I don't like this color. I want to go ahead and make this sign like gray and white. I want to go ahead and make it teal. I want to go ahead and turn it purple, right? And as soon as you X out, it is not going to save those changes. So you do want to make sure you save them rather than just Xing out. Okay, so other things that you guys can do in Google Drawing. I really like the fact that they have word art. Word art is something that I really enjoyed, especially looking at Microsoft Word. So if I wanted to talk about something else from the career exploration, I could look at typical stereotypes of this job. People tend to think people that teach work short hours, or they do it because they got the summer off, right? There are some kind of stereotypes that go with it. Or you work with kids, it's easy, right? So I might want to talk about stereotypes, and I can go ahead and put in this clip art. So rather than making a text box, I can do clip art, drag it all around. I can change the color to match my theme. I might decide that I want the theme to match the fact that I'm here at DHS, and I can change the colors, right, to mimic that and to keep that idea going, right? I can even inverse it and decide I wanted to do orange and then blue, right? So the opportunities are endless. You can play around with it to see what you're thinking. Now, stereotypes, we can go ahead and list them out, right? Or we can add some kind of images. So you might pull an image of someone being lazy or someone laying by the pool in the summer, relaxing, right? Whatever things you think are going to fit the stereotypes behind the job, if you happen to pick that, those are things you could definitely talk about. Okay, in terms of other things that Google Drawing is going to help you do, right? You can also insert shapes. So if you're somebody that likes to have arrows to show a sense of like flow and order, that's great. If you want to go ahead and have like positives and negatives, right? You might have a smiley face for something. If you want to throw a thought bubble out there, it should be under the call out section. So you can do different things like that, right? Like, what do we think we're going to need to be doing to prepare for teaching? And I dragged this yellow diamond to make the thought bubble extend a little bit, right? And what's awesome is I can go ahead and type in that and I don't have to put a text box in there. Same kind of things again with your formatting. You can change your color scheme and what have you. You can change your font, right? All sorts of things are there, right? So if I wanted to say this is the dream job that I'm looking for and I'm articulating this on my poster, that's a choice too. So it's something that works really well. Okay, other things you might be able to do with Google Drawing. You can go ahead and decide that you want to insert a diagram. Okay, so if you wanted to make some kind of graphic organizer or grid, there are all sorts of charts. Now this levels number is basically just how many rows according to this there are. So if I wanted 5 rows, I could do 5 rows, 4, 3. I can make this as many or as few as I want. If I want to change the color scheme, I can do that, right? Let's say I didn't want it to be pink. I can go ahead and make it green, right? So you can make all these sorts of changes as you go through. Okay, so when I'm ready to insert that and I'd scroll through some of my choices, I can just go ahead and pick it and it's going to automatically put it on here. So again, you want to be able to move this, so you would select the boxes and drag them as you need to. If I didn't want this to say 1, 2, 3, 4, I can number these with whatever questions I want. So let's say you are deciding to number by question and that makes you feel comfortable. That's okay, because this is a different way to see it and have that visual be enhanced. So if I did questions 1 through 3, and I described them in here, that would be cool. Let's say I decided to tackle questions 5 and then 7 and 9, right, as some of my choices. I can articulate that, show the general idea, and maybe bullet some experiences, worries, concerns, stereotypes, typical day information on this side here. So again, that's what you can do with that. If you ever don't like what you put in there, you could always use the back arrow to eliminate and minimize things, or you can highlight them and delete them, right? They're all choices that you have to go forwards and backwards. Okay, so that's something to think about. You can also go ahead and insert different kinds of diagrams, like a timeline of events, right? If you're talking about what does it take or education or preparation for this career, timelines are a great choice. They give you ones that are different circles that are loading progress. They give you line graphs. They give you all sorts of different ways to look at timelines, and it's just something that's really interesting to follow. So these are again prefabbed, they have information in them. So you would double click on it, remove the information that's not related to your project, and populate, right, fill that in with what is pertaining to what you're doing. Okay, so now that we've gone over some of the things in here, again, keep in mind that you can go ahead and change your background. So as long as you're clicked out of different areas, you should be able to use different kinds of tools and format things. You can go ahead and insert images, shapes. You can do word art, even lines. So if you want to draw your own arrows and not use these shape arrows that are a little bit wider to do that, you can make an arrow. So let's say I wanted to make an arrow from what I needed to do in order to get my dream job, right, to show that process. I can select what kind of arrow end I want it to be, if I want it to be shaded or not. I can make this a more bold line so people can see it clearly, right? I can keep clicking and inserting as many as I want. So these are all things to think about. I hope this was helpful for you. And again, if you have questions as you're going through your project, let me know. As you look through the rubric on the bottom, it'll give you a clear sense of what kinds of things you need to do in order to acquire the 26 points. Okay? Thank you, and let me know if you need anything. Good luck.